What up, homies? Thank you for tuning in to Mission Control Houston's Hockey Podcast. My name's Matt Savage. I'm just a dude who fell in love with hockey back in 1994 when the Houston Aeros of the International Hockey League came to town. And ever since 2013, when they left, I have been following news, rumors, innuendo, and outright lies about another hockey team coming to Houston almost obsessively. And I wanted to make a podcast that talked about these things since, to my knowledge, one doesn't exist. So with that in mind, let me show you some news that I picked up on. And I don't even know if I should call it news because I discovered this, or rather it was sent to me. The Chadwick on X showed this to me. And it's a couple of months old at this point. So I guess we could call it olds, not news. But it's news to me. And yeah, I'll admit it, it contradicts my predictions from our previous episode. But I'm happy to be wrong here. So you'll notice, here we go. Fertitta has extended arena naming rights with Toyota. So it'll be continue to be called Toyota Center. And you might be going, well, all right, Savage, so what? I mean, we kind of figured that's where money is, right? And yeah, I get it. But I'm going to scroll down here and I'll, not go too fast here. I don't want to make you dizzy here. This is from the Houston Business Journal, by the way. But anyway, you may have noticed this part here. That the deal was facilitated through Gulf States Toyota, a subsidiary, I am literate, of the Houston-based the Friedkin Group. Well, there you go. And as you are no doubt aware, the Friedkin Group, or Dan Friedkin, is the guy who's been talking to the NHL about getting an expansion team over here. And okay, awesome. So maybe we don't need a new arena in Houston to bring a hockey team in. It looks like Tillman is going to play nice. So all right, cool. We'll have a shared use arena, not any type of further tax burden on the citizens of Houston. And okay. I mean, maybe you were like me, and maybe you were thinking that Tillman wouldn't share the arena. And, I'm cynical because Les didn't share the arena, or he did, but towards the end didn't. You know what I mean. With the hockey team, and looks like Tillman will. What I'm really interested to see is bringing that arena up. Anytime there's an expansion for any of the sports leagues always want new arenas, unless you're talking about Madison Square Garden, in which case, oh no, history. But any other time, they want brand new, shiny, but that's not always practical. So it's interesting to see how they wind up freshening up the Toyota Center there. And this seems like a minor detail. And by the way, I have been accused in YouTube comments of rationalizing disparate bits of information to jump to an outlandish conclusion. I'm putting words in people's mouth, but to synthesize some things. And yeah, maybe. But here's what I'm looking at with these renovations. I mean, we already know that the ice machines got upgraded. We can figure on a new scoreboard. I want to know what color the seats are going to be with Toyota Center renovations. And that seems like a weird thing, but, I'm a Stars fan. I go to the American Airlines Arena, and they just changed from gray with the American Airlines logo back to, I want to say 2 years ago, they're now black seats. And that's a nice neutral color for a basketball team in blue and a hockey team in green. So I want to know what happens at the Toyota Center. Are we going to get gray or black seats, or are we going to get red seats again? And I'm showing how long it's been since I've been in Toyota Center. Last time I was in there, the seats were red for the Rockets. Okay, cool. And also the Toyota logo. But if there's a neutral color in there, then maybe we're getting the Arrows name back. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't have red seats going with any version of the Arrows that we've seen so far. But if we got something neutral, yeah, we can do that. So Anyway, that's piece of news number one. I also want to show, and I'm looking at my second screen over here, another piece of news that it's a little bit more recent. You may have seen this, where Bill Daly of the NHL, and I'll just scroll down here, who is a deputy commissioner of the NHL. And let me just skip to the part that matters for us. Here we go, where the Athletic asks, are we closer to reopening an expansion process? And he says no. Okay, now let's keep reading though, because that seems like, oh, our dreams are dead. There is no current intention to open up a formal expansion process and invite bids. It's much more of a one-on-one conversation and relationship we have with various potential owners. That's probably technically correct. I don't know that we're going to get the league announces that they're accepting bids for expansion, because they got embarrassed last time. They got Vegas. Vegas had a good, strong bid, and that's really it. And they kind of, Seattle didn't have that strong of a bid for expansion. I mean, keep in mind that Climate Pledge Arena is the same arena the Sonics were playing in. Not a lot of upgrades there. So, so I think the NHL's like, all right, well, present us something, and we'll take a look at it. And if we like your bid, then we'll talk numbers. And so I think in that sense, the no formal expansion process thing is true. And I still think that Houston's the front runner here. Okay, moving on. So I mentioned earlier being a Stars fan, and man, that gets a lot of Houston sports fans just in a tizzy, and I don't get it. Like, if we had a hockey team, I would get it. But since we don't, it's just, I'll just stop. And I guess that's part of sports fandom. Everyone needs to talk mess to each other. But I've said this over and over. It's like, well, I need a home team to root for, and it's got to be the Stars. Otherwise, I'm getting on a plane to go see a game. And someone actually suggested to me a resolution that was just root against the Stars because they're a Dallas-based team, and drive up to American Airlines Center just to root against the Stars. Okay. But then who am I a fan of if I do that, right? Like, what team am I embracing and I can follow throughout the year so I can root for them in person, right? So, like, work used to send me to Tampa. For 2 years, they sent me to Tampa. So, and I actually was there during a week of the Eastern Conference Finals, and I was working out of the convention center, which is just a short walk to Amalie Arena. And man, that was fun. It was fun being out there in Thunder Alley, which is their little outside the stadium plaza, watching the away games. It was cool being inside the stadium. It was just so cool to be there during a conference final. So I tried to root for the Bolts during this season. And I was able to watch, I think that season I was able to watch 4 nationally televised games, because that's all they had. And 2 of those were because the Stars were playing them and the Stars were carrying the Lightning. So, okay, what's a team that I can watch all of their home games that isn't the Stars? The answer is there's not one. Oh, I can subscribe to NHL Network. Can I really? No. I'm not doing that. Just like you may recall, there was like a 2-year period when the Astros games were only available if you had, I want to say it was the Root Sports cable package, and most cable carriers didn't have it, at least as part of basic cable. And it's like, all right, well then you're not the Houston Astros. You're the whoever can afford the cable package Astros. And well, you're not part of anything I can follow or I'm willing to follow. So no, the Stars make it easy for me to follow them, which is why I do. But I get it. Some of you are obsessed. You know, if you're talking Cowboys fans, I really understand. If you're talking Rangers fans, I kind of understand. But past that, it's just, man, that's just weird. It reminds me of watching Texas A&M cheer about anything, because even when they're not playing TU, like all their songs and chants and this stupid thing, and it's just all their songs reference UT. It's like, man, they live rent free in your head. I'd be embarrassed to do that. So when Houston fans are just obsessively anti-Dallas in all things, it's just, man, you need to check on yourself, you know? But I get it. People just want to be anti-Dallas in all things. So, and yet you tune into this, and I appreciate that. If only there was a way to reconcile your anti-Dallas obsession. I maybe we can come up with a solution. But beyond that, one of the things that's been mentioned to me is like, Savage, you talk about the NHL, but you never talk about the NHL. You know, you more talk around it, you know, with stadiums and expansions and stuff like that. But all right, fine. So the season's kind of over as far as my fandoms are going. I mean, obviously, University of Houston, their season ended a long time ago. The Corpus Christi Ice Rays, their season's over. And honestly, as soon as the playoffs had to move to El Paso because of their stadium sharing with the rodeo, I lost interest at that point. It was a small possibility that maybe I can take a drive down to Corpus and just enjoy Corpus and check out some playoff hockey. But El Paso was just impossible. I'm going to Kansas City for work next week, and I was kind of following the ECHL team there because, wouldn't it be cool if they were in the ECHL finals while I was in town? I could catch a game relatively cheaply, but no, they petered out during the conference finals. And of course, the Stars lost last night. I'm recording this on Friday morning. There's been a chorus of, man, if I were Otter, I'd demand a trade. And who could blame him? Maybe we need to get rid of DeBoer. And replace him with who? And there's talk of, we'll bring up the AHL coach, and maybe, I don't know about that one. I will say though that maybe he lost the locker room. I'm not convinced Ben isn't washed at this point, which is a shame because I'm a huge Jamie Benn fan, but man, just taking dumb penalties all throughout the playoffs and not really contributing much on the scoreboard. It's hard to justify whatever his contract would demand. DeBoer calling out Otter at the end of that game was just, it was a bad look. But I can't disagree with what he said either, where he said 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6 games. No, that was game 5. So 4 out of 5 games, he's outplayed. Okay, he gave up 2 goals and 2 shots, which is not a good look for any goaltender, especially in an elimination game. So I kind of get that. DeSmith had been playing well as a backup role, but against a team as fast as Edmonton, man, I don't know. It was a rough one to watch. Who do I got for the finals? I got Edmonton. I got Edmonton because the McDavid hype is real. And man, they're such a fast team. Like Dallas this whole time, DeBoer never really changed up coaching strategy. I mean, yeah, he juggled lines, but Dallas has always played this drop back pass type of play, which is fine if the other, if everyone in the stadium knows what you're doing, but you can get away with it, that's fine. But Edmonton was so fast, they were breaking up plays left and right, and there was no answer to it. So I got Edmonton, but look, I don't know how your bracket's looking, but my bracket's, I'm not even looking at just how bad it is at this point because I'm certain it's horrible. I got Edmonton, and I want Edmonton, not because we want a Canadian team to win. I don't care about that, but mostly because I want Kate to be happy, because Kate has brought us so much happiness, right? Hey, going off my list of topics to talk about, y'all know who I am about stadiums. And you may remember a previous episode where I'm doing what I do, raising a stink about the Texans wanting to move out of NRG Arena. And I said, well, you got to win a title before you even start talking about getting a stadium, and what I called Savage's Law. But check this out. This comes from Brody Brazil's channel, where this is happening in Illinois. I subscribe to his stuff. I like his stuff. And he has fallen into stadium coverage. And 2 months ago, he commented on this Illinois law, where you'll notice if you're reading it here, teams need to win at least 50% of their games in at least 3 out of 5 seasons, if they want taxpayer funds for a new stadium or to renovate an existing one. And I especially liked what they called it. There we go. The Bears Act. Doesn't that balance earnings and record standings? I mean, how great is it that the state is saying the Bears suck, and we're going to name our "you must win" bill after you guys. But there's something else about this that I also enjoyed. I just like that Brody called this a savage move. No, I know that he wasn't watching my stuff and referencing it, but how great is this, though? That it's nice to realize that I'm not a lone voice screaming against the wind, and I understand not a lot of subscribers or whatever, and Brody's audience is much larger than mine, as it should be. It's just nice to know that I'm not alone in saying enough is enough with sports teams shaking down cities and bringing nothing to enhance that city. So I'm glad it got pointed out by someone else too. And I'm really glad to see Illinois take a stand here. I'm curious to see what's going to wind up happening with this Bears Act. All right, moving on. Hey, weird as it sounds, can we talk about the Utah Mammoth for a bit? So by now everyone's seen the new logo, the one that looks like something that came from Create a Franchise Mode from the EA game. I don't hate the logo. I mean, I think putting the mountains on top of the head's kind of cool and stuff. But a couple of thoughts. The first, I do think it's lazy that they're using the word mark for the away jerseys. And I hate word marks. All apologies to the 1970s arrows. And I hate asymmetrical jerseys. But okay, that's a decision they made. But I remember that first year of Utah Hockey Club where they said there wasn't enough time to come up with the process for the new name, new logo, get the jerseys out and about. So, okay, we're just going to use Utah Hockey Club because we're doing this all so quickly after acquiring the Coyotes. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Because from the time they acquired the Coyotes to the time of this hockey season that we're now concluding starting, it was a 6-month period. Okay, you can't get it done in 6 months. But from the time that the Yeti name was rejected to the time of next season starting, if we use our calendars and stuff, that's 7 months. You're telling me 1 month makes all that difference? No, I don't think so. I think having the provisional jersey and then coming out with a new one was a money grab. And it is what it is. Good for them for making the money. These jerseys will be the throwbacks unless they do something tacky like use the Coyotes jerseys, which they probably will. But it's just, man, it rubs me the wrong way. If I'm a Utah fan, I'd be super excited about new team, new identity, and all that stuff. Sure, but there's just something really unsettling about it. And I don't hear anyone else saying anything about it. So, all right, next thing. I'm going down the list. We're going to get all of this stuff, or a lot of it anyway. Hey, old news, but maybe you haven't heard it yet. I think it was at the end of the Four Nations tournament where Trump and Putin were talking about this, and they talked about, hey, maybe we should have some KHL, that's the Russian league, and NHL games, which of course neither, well, at least Trump doesn't have the authority to dictate anything like that. But how cool of an idea is that? And by the way, how much does it suck that Russia's banned from international play? Like, whatever your politics are, however you feel about Russia, Ukraine, and all that, or why they're banned from international play, didn't the Four Nations Cup seem a little less legitimate because Russia wasn't involved? Of course it did, right? And international play is supposed to be a place where politics are put aside, and I understand the Soviets and the US boycotting each other's Olympics, but that shouldn't have happened. The Americans competed in Nazi Germany, right? I mean, we should. So the idea, and it'll probably never go anywhere, it's probably just farting around and stuff, but the idea that two world leaders are talking hockey is pretty exciting to me. And I got another news story. Again, I don't care about your politics. You shouldn't care about mine either. And this is an older story. It's like a week and a half out of the Four Nations Cup. But I thought this was cool. We had the congressional hockey game here that, there you go, FBI Director Kash Patel participated in, winds up scoring a goal. There we go. There's a better picture of all that and staffers and all that. But again, it's kind of nice to see elected officials that are involved in hockey and stuff like that. Now, I will tell you, about a month after this game, Cash winds up getting a little bit in trouble because he's taking government airplane trips to go see playoff games. But, if you're going to get in trouble for something, it's kind of cool that we have someone at that level of government that's a fan. So there we go. All right. Faithful viewers, Ellie, or Cinderella, wanted to say hi to you. So there she is. So I'm out of town next week. I'm in Kansas City. That's one of the cities that is on our list of places the NHL could conceivably expand to. Granted, they're not in the top 4. And I've done some more thinking. I've updated the list. I've added some cities. So I'll film some things from Kansas City and talk about my thoughts on them as a potential expansion team, just because I'm there anyway, and why not? And every now and then they'll get a little mention. And then I'll talk about how that list of who deserves an NHL team has changed a bit. And we'll just talk about future expansion talk, because we're at that part of the year. Something's going to break. There's going to be new news happening. So, boys and girls, I neglected to do this last episode. What did we learn? Well, we learned that Fertitta and Friedkin are working together. So, yay, that is good news here. We'll let Atlanta talk and get headlines. Quiet is good. And with that, boys and girls, remember that Stanley Cup time. If you find yourself watching this stuff with friends, don't get annoyed when they ask you, what's offsides? How does icing work? And all that. Be patient with them, right? We need normies to buy tickets too and get involved in the game, all right? And with that, we out.